Hello everyone. Let's move straight into defining PMO KPIs. PMO KPIs are measurable indicators used to evaluate how effectively the PMO is achieving its objectives and delivering value. Now let me say that in very simple English. KPIs are numbers or signals that show whether the PMO is doing a good job or not. Stay with me here. If you can't measure it, you can't explain it. I've seen PMOs work very hard but struggle to answer a simple question from leadership. How do we know you're helping? KPIs exist to answer that question clearly. So now that we understand what PMO KPIs are, the next thing to explore is why defining the right KPIs matters so much. Here's the challenge with KPIs. Measuring the wrong things can be worse than measuring nothing. In everyday terms, KPIs can accidentally push the PMO in the wrong direction. You've probably seen this at the office. A PMO reports how many templates were created, but project performance doesn't improve. I once saw a PMO proudly report hundreds of documents while projects were still late. The effort was real, but the KPI was meaningless. So now that we see why KPIs must be chosen carefully, the next step is understanding what PMO KPIs should actually reflect. Good PMO KPIs focus on outcomes, not just activity. Let's break this down together. Activity is what the PMO does, like reviews or reports. Outcomes are what change because of that work, like better delivery or clearer decisions. I remember a PMO that shifted its KPI from number of status reports to projects with accurate status. That one change improved honesty overnight. KPIs should tell a story about improvement, not busyness. So now that we understand what good KPIs focus on, the next question is how these KPIs connect to business goals. From a practical PMO point of view, KPIs must align with what leadership actually cares about. In simple terms, if leadership cares about value and predictability, KPIs should point there. You've probably seen dashboards full of numbers that nobody asks about. I once worked with a PMO that asked executives one simple question: what worries you most about projects? The KPIs were built around those worries, and suddenly the reports mattered. So now that we understand how KPIs should align with strategy, the next step is seeing who should be involved in defining them. PMO KPIs should never be defined in isolation. Let me put that plainly. KPIs work best when they are agreed upon with stakeholders. You've probably noticed resistance when KPIs feel imposed or irrelevant. I've seen PMOs struggle until they invited sponsors and teams into the KPI discussion. Once everyone agreed on what success looked like, measurement became less threatening and more useful. So now that we understand how collaboration shapes better KPIs, the final step is seeing what happens when KPIs are used consistently. When PMO KPIs are well defined and used regularly, the PMO gains clarity and confidence. Conversations shift from opinions to facts, and improvement becomes intentional. KPIs stop being numbers on a slide and start guiding behavior. The PMO can show progress, learn from gaps, and adjust its services with purpose. So now that we've explored how PMO KPIs are defined and why they matter, the next natural step is to look at how these KPIs are tracked, reported, and reviewed over time, which brings us directly into PMO performance reporting and dashboards. We are going to discuss qualitative versus quantitative metrics in details in next chapter.